The grand assembly hall hummed with the murmurs of 1,000 alien voices. Holographic banners shimmered above the circular chamber, each representing a species of the Galactic Federation. The air smelled of ionized metal and the faint musk of a dozen different biologies. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Elias Vance, the lone human in a sea of chitin, scales, and bioluminescent flesh. His black diplomatic suit stood out starkly against the riot of alien regalia. High Chancellor Vexler's forearms spread wide as he addressed the assembly. His chitinous plates clacked together with the weight of finality. The vote is unanimous. His voice boomed through the chamber's acoustics, reverberating like distant thunder. By the authority of the Galactic Federation Council, we declare war upon the Terran Systems Alliance. A ripple of approval spread through the gathered dignitaries. Councillor Silthra coiled her serpentine body tighter around her podium, her iridescent scales flashing amusement. Finally, she hissed, her forked tongue flicking out. The humans have been a thorn in the Federation's side for too long. Elias Vance didn't flinch. He stood perfectly still, his silver hair catching the chamber's ambient light. When he spoke, his voice carried without amplification. "This is a mistake." Laughter erupted from the assembly. A bulbous Quarian ambassador pulsed with mirth, his gelatinous form quivering. "Listen to the soft skin," he gurgled, still trying to negotiate when the might of the Federation is arrayed against him. Vance's gaze never wavered from Vexler. "You're judging humanity by your own standards. That's your first error." Vexler's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. "We've seen your military assessments, Ambassador. Your ships are slow, your weapons primitive. The border skirmish at Proxima proved your kind cannot match Federation technology." "That wasn't a skirmish," Vance said quietly. "That was a warning shot." Silthra's laughter was like shattering glass. "Oh, this is precious. The hairless ape thinks his species can stand against the combined might of the Federation." Vance reached into his jacket pocket. The motion caused several security drones to hum to life, their weapon ports glowing. Slowly, he withdrew a simple data chip. "Before you finalize this vote, I suggest you review the full report from Proxima, not the sanitized version your military advisors provided." Vexler made a dismissive gesture with two of his arms. "We've seen enough. Your civilization is barely 3 centuries into spaceflight. The Federation has ruled the stars for millennia. And in all that time," Vance said, slotting the chip into his podium, "has any species ever refused to join your precious Federation?" The question gave the chamber pause. A hush fell as the holographic displays flickered, then resolved into new imagery, the true recording from Proxima. Not the Federation's edited version showing human ships fleeing, but the unaltered footage. The video showed the human outpost at Proxima III, a modest station orbiting a red dwarf. Then came the Zephyrian warships, their sleek hulls gliding into position. The Federation's version had cut the transmission there. The real footage continued. As the Zephyrian fleet opened fire, something impossible happened. The human station didn't explode. Its shields flared an impossible blue, holding against the barrage. Then it returned fire, not with lasers or plasma, but with projectiles. Kinetic kill vehicles moving at relativistic speeds punched through Zephyrian shields like they weren't there. 3 warships disintegrated before the recording cut out. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Vance removed the chip. That was one mining outpost. Not a warship, not a military installation, a civilian facility armed with prototype defenses. He looked around the room, meeting each alien gaze in turn. "You're declaring war on a species that turns its mining stations into fortresses. What do you think we've done with our actual military?" Vexler recovered first. "Impressive tricks," he rumbled, though his carapace had darkened slightly, as Zephyrian tell for unease. "But no match for the full might of the Federation." Vance sighed, slipping the data chip back into his pocket. "I tried to warn you." He turned to leave, then paused at the chamber's edge. Without looking back, he said the words that would echo across the galaxy. "You don't know what you're awakening." The laughter started before the doors sealed behind him. Silthra's mocking voice carried clearly. Did you hear that? The human thinks Hez frightening. Vexler's answering chuckle vibrated through the chamber. Let them come. The galaxy will learn the price of defying the Federation, as the vote was formally recorded, and the war declaration transmitted across hyperwave channels. None of them noticed the small black device Vance had left behind on his podium. Its single red light blinked once, then went dark. Mission accomplished. The signal had been sent. Earth would know, and humanity would answer. The bridge of the USN Defiance hummed with tension, every console flashing red. Captain Ryan Blake's cybernetic eye flickered as it processed the incoming data streams. Too many contacts too close. The outer colonies burned on the main view screen, their orbital defenses reduced to molten debris. Report, Blake growled, his voice rough from 3 days without sleep. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across her terminal. 17 Federation dreadnoughts just entered the system. Sir Zapirian lead vessels. There, the ship shuddered as a plasma lance grazed their port shields. There, targeting civilian evacuation transports. Blake's fist slammed into the armrest of his command chair. Helm, intercept course. Weapons, ready all batteries. A holographic screen flickered to life above the tactical console. Fleet Admiral Kreltok's chitinous face filled the display, his 4 eyes gleaming with cold amusement. Human vessel, he rumbled, the translation software flattening his guttural tones. Your colonies are ashes, your fleets are scattered. Surrender now, and we may spare what remains of your species. Blake leaned forward, his augmented eye locking onto the alien's image. You don't know what you've started, Kreltok. The Zapirian's mandibles twitched in what might have been a laugh. We know exactly what we've started. The Galactic Federation has declared war on humanity. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and alone. Outside the Defiance's point, defense cannons roared to life, swatting incoming torpedoes from the void. The ship banked hard, her engines screaming as she positioned herself between the alien armada and the last fleeing colony ship. Captain, Ensign Rivera shouted from sensors. They're launching boarding pods, Vorak shock troops. Blake didn't hesitate. Seal all bulkheads, Marines to defensive positions. He thumbed the ship, wide comm. All hands, this is the captain, prepare to repel boarders. The first impact rocked the Defiance like a hammer blow. Klaxons wailed as atmosphere vented from Deck 4. On the view screen, the Vorak dreadnought Worldbreaker loomed closer, its plasma cannons charging for another volley. Shields at Fei Chen reported, her voice tight. Blake watched the colony ship, the Hope's light, struggling to jump to warp. One more hit, and her engines would fail. He made his decision. Helm, ramming speed. The bridge crew froze for half a heartbeat, then the helmsman, a kid barely out of the academy, nodded and wrenched the controls. The Defiance surged forward, her battered prow aimed straight at the Worldbreaker's bridge tower. Kreltok's hologram flickered. You're insane, the Admiral hissed. Blake bared his teeth. Welcome to humanity. The Defiance struck like a spear. A reinforced bow shattered the Worldbreaker's viewports, the impact sending tremors through both ships. For a glorious, terrible moment, the two vessels hung locked together in the void. Then the Hope's light's warp drive flared to life. The colony ship vanished in a flash of blue light, escaping into the black. Alarms screamed as the Defiance's structural integrity failed. Bulkheads collapsed. Fires erupted in the engineering decks. Blake clung to his chair as the artificial gravity faltered. Abandon ship, he ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. All hands evacuate. The crew moved with desperate efficiency, scrambling for the escape pods. Blake remained, his hands steady on the self-destruct console. Kreltok's image reappeared, his 4 eyes wide with realization. You planned this, the Admiral snarled. Blake didn't answer. He input the final code. The Defiance's core detonated in a sun-bright explosion, taking the Worldbreaker and 3 nearby Zapirian cruisers with her. In the silence that followed, the Federation armada hesitated. Their sensors picked up a single escape pod, its beacon pulsing weakly. Inside the pod, Ensign Rivera clutched a data drive to her chest. The last transmission from Captain Blake played on a loop, broadcasting on all frequencies. They think this is war, they're wrong. Across the burning ruins of the outer colonies, the message spread. Human ships, scattered and outnumbered, heard it. Hidden bases, black site research stations, last-ditch defense platforms, all received the signal. The Federation had declared war. Humanity was about to show them what war really looked like. The asteroid field of Sigma Draconis glittered like shattered glass in the void. Commander Lisa Hayes watched the tactical display with cold precision. The holographic projection showed a swarm of red dots, Vorak and Zeperian warships, advancing through the belt. "All ships hold position," she said, her voice calm. "Wait for my mark." The bridge of the USN Harbinger hummed with tension. Her crew, a mix of veterans and fresh-faced recruits, kept their eyes locked on their stations. The ship's AI, a smooth synthetic voice named Alex, chimed in. "Enemy fleet entering optimal engagement range, Commander." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. On the main view screen, the lead Vorak dreadnought loomed like a jagged mountain of black metal. Its weapons glowed with charged plasma, ready to reduce the Harbinger to slag. A transmission crackled through. "Human vessel," growled Battlemaster Cracksil, his massive scaled face filling the screen. "You are outnumbered 50-1, surrender, and we will grant your crew a quick death." Lisa leaned forward, resting her elbows on the command console. "Cracksil, was it? You ever play chess?" The Vorak commander blinked, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "What?" "Human game strategy. See, in chess, sometimes you sacrifice a pawn to take a queen." She tapped a button on her console. "Alex, execute Rook protocol." The AI responded instantly, activating relativistic kill vehicles. Deep within the asteroid belt, hundreds of dormant projectiles flared to life. They weren't missiles, not in the traditional sense. Each was a tungsten slug the size of a shuttle, accelerated to near light speed by hidden human railguns. Cracksil's dreadnought shuddered as the first impact tore through its shields like paper. The second punched clean through its hull. The third detonated its reactor. The view screen erupted in fire as the Vorak flagship split apart. "All ships, full retreat." Cracksil's voice was raw with panic. "Hive mind thee." His transmission cut off as another dreadnought exploded. Then another. The asteroid field became a storm of fire and shrapnel. Human stealth drones, hidden among the rocks, painted targets for the kill vehicles. On the Harbinger's bridge, Lieutenant Chen let out a low whistle. "Damn, that's a lot of dead aliens." Lisa didn't celebrate. Not yet. She watched as the last of the Federation ships tried to flee, only to be picked off by the Harbinger's long-range railguns. "Alex, status report." "Enemy fleet annihilation at Phay-2 light cruisers have escaped." Lisa nodded. "Let them run. They'll carry the message." She turned to her comms officer. "Open a channel to Captain Blake on the Defiance." Blake's scarred face appeared on screen. He was grinning. "Hell of a show, Commander. Just the opening act," Lisa said. They wanted war. Now they've got it. Blake's grin faded into something darker. "You sure about this? Once we go down this road, There's no turning back." Lisa's fingers tightened around the edge of her console. "They glassed 3 of our colonies. Blake, they killed millions." She looked at the burning wreckage on the view screen. "This isn't war. This is extermination." Blake exhaled slowly. "Then let's make sure they regret it." The transmission ended. Lisa turned back to her crew. "Set course for the next rally point. We're not done yet." As the Harbinger's engines flared to life, the last of the alien wreckage tumbled silently through the void. A message had been sent, and the galaxy would soon learn humanity didn't lose wars. It ended them. The research station hung in the silent void between stars, its angular black hull absorbing all light. No beacons marked its position, No transmissions leaked from its shielded comm rays. To any passing ship, it was just another piece of cosmic debris in the dead system. Dr. Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his brow as he adjusted the containment field generators. The device at the center of the chamber pulsed like a living thing, its core swirling with unnatural darkness. "Stabilization at Faye," he muttered to his team. "We're almost there." A junior technician, her hands shaking, input the final sequence. "Sir, the harmonics are still fluctuating. If we push it any further." "We push it," Morrison snapped. His eyes never left the readouts. "The Zephyrians just glassed New Geneva. We're out of time for caution." The station shuddered as something impacted the outer hull. Alarms blared through the corridors. "They found us," someone whispered. Morrison didn't look up. "Seal the bulkheads. Divert all power to the lab shields." Across the room, a ventilation grate clattered to the floor. A figure oozed from the duct, first liquid, then solidifying into the form of Admiral Thalvek. The Vorak infiltrator's scales shimmered as he took shape, his yellow eyes locking onto the pulsing device. "Humans," Thalvek hissed, "always so predictable, hiding your toys in the dark." Morrison slowly turned. His hand hovered near the emergency purge control. "You're a long way from home, Admiral." Thalvek's forked tongue flicked out. "We tracked your energy signatures. The Federation wants to know what you're building." He gestured to the swirling darkness. "This abomination." The other scientists backed away. Morrison stood his ground. "This is Project Ragnarok, our answer to your genocide." The Vorak let out a rattling laugh. "A bomb. You think one weapon can stop the combined might of—" "It is not a bomb." Morrison's smile was cold. "It is a key." He tapped a control. The containment field flickered, revealing the true nature of the device. The darkness at its core wasn't just shadow. It was an artificial singularity, held in check by a fragile lattice of gravitic stabilizers. Thalvek's amusement vanished. His claws twitched toward his sidearm. You're insane. That thing could collapse a star system." Morrison nodded. "Yes, and we've built 12 of them." The Vorak's transmission implant glowed as he automatically recorded the data. His voice shook. "The Federation will burn your worlds to ash for this heresy." Morrison's fingers closed around the purge control. "They'll try." Thalvek lunged, his claws slashing toward Morrison's throat. The human scientist didn't flinch. He hit the switch. The emergency protocols activated. Bulkheads slammed shut. Atmosphere vents opened, hurling everything not bolted down, including Thalvek, into the void. The Vorak's scream cut off as the vacuum claimed him, his body tumbling toward the dead star below. The transmission kept broadcasting. Morrison watched the feed on his console as it reached the nearest Federation relay. Thalvek's final moments, the Ragnarok device, the truth. All of it streaming toward the enemy high command, sir. The technician pointed to the comm panel. "They've received the data packet. The Zephyrian Armada is changing course." Morrison exhaled. "Good. Let them see what they've awakened." The device pulsed faster now, its containment field glowing red at the edges. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Stabilization failing." The technician whispered, "We have maybe 10 minutes before—" "I know." Morrison straightened his lab coat. "Initiate final protocol. Lock all systems." The team worked in silence, inputting the last commands. The station's AI voice echoed through the chamber. "Project Ragnarok. Phase 2 activated. All personnel are advised to evacuate." Morrison didn't move. None of them did. Outside the observation window, the dead star's surface rippled. The Ragnarok device's singularity reached out, tendrils of darkness licking at the edges of reality. Space itself warped around the station. The technician grabbed Morrison's arm. "Will it work?" Morrison watched the star begin to collapse. "Oh, it'll work." The last thing the Federation heard before the transmission cut out was the sound of human laughter. The bridge of the USN Titan hummed with restrained energy. Every station glowed crimson with battle readiness. General Darius Cole stood at the center, his scarred face illuminated by the holographic display of Centumprum below. The Federation capital world glittered like a jewel, untouched, arrogant status report. Cole growled, his voice like gravel. All ships reporting in, General Lieutenant. Cho responded, fingers dancing across her console. Hellfire payloads armed and ready. Enemy fleet is scrambling, but they're still in low orbit. Cole's lips curled into a grin. He tapped his comm. All vessels, this is Titan, actual. Remember Sigma Draconis. Remember the colonies they burned. Today, we return the favor. Across the fleet, 1,000 captains echoed the same response. For Earth, on the view screen, the Zeperian home fleet swarmed like angry insects. Their dreadnoughts, sleek and menacing, formed defensive lines around Centuntrum's orbital platforms. High Chancellor Vexler's face appeared on screen, his chitinous plates flaring in rage. Human filth, he spat. You dare bring your pathetic ships to our heart, you will be. Cole cut the transmission with a flick of his wrist. Open fire. Space erupted. The Titan's main batteries discharged first, massive railguns hurling tungsten spears at relativistic speeds. The lead Zeperian battleship shattered like glass, its hull peeling apart in a silent explosion. Then came the missiles, hundreds of them, streaking through the void like vengeful spirits. Each carried a Hellfire warhead, a planet cracker designed to ignite atmospheres. Direct hit on their command station, shouted Ensign Rivera. The orbital defense grid flared as the first warhead struck. A sunburst of fire rolled across the platform, consuming everything in its path. Secondary explosions rippled through the Zeperian fleet as ammunition stores detonated. Sir, we're detecting energy spikes from the surface, Cho warned. They're activating planetary shields, Cole snorted. Too late. The second wave of Hellfires hit Centuntrum's upper atmosphere. The planet's shimmering shield flickered, then failed. The warheads plunged downward, their trajectories calculated to maximize devastation. On the surface, Vexilor staggered as the first impact quake rocked the Grand Assembly Hall. The ornate dome cracked, raining debris onto the panicking council members. What have you done? Silthra hissed, her scales dull with fear. Vexilor had no answer. The sky above Centuntrum burned. Aboard the Titan, Cole watched the carnage unfold. Cities turned to firestorms. Continents glowed with the heat of 1,000 suns. The Zeperian fleet, now leaderless, broke formation. Some ships tried to flee, others turned to fight, a futile gesture. Finish them, Cole ordered. The human fleet advanced like wolves. Point defense lasers swatted down enemy fighters. Boarding pods slammed into crippled dreadnoughts, spilling armored marines into their corridors. The Vorak flagship, Dreadmore, attempted a suicide run at the Titan. Cole didn't flinch. Evasive pattern, Delta, fire all aft batteries. The Dreadmore came apart under concentrated fire. Its wreckage tumbled past the Titan's hull, molten metal cooling in the void. General, Cho shouted, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Vexilor's image appeared again, but the arrogance was gone. His exoskeleton was cracked, oozing blue ichor. Behind him, the once proud assembly hall burned. Enough, the High Chancellor begged. You've proven your point. Withdraw your forces. Cole leaned forward. You declared war on humanity. You burned our worlds. You laughed when we warned you. He gestured to the devastation below. This is our reply. Vexilor's mandibles trembled. What do you want? Surrender, Cole said. Unconditional, or we glass every Federation world, one by one. The transmission cut. Silence fell on the bridge. The crew exchanged glances, some satisfied, others haunted. Set course for the next target, Cole said quietly. Let's see if they've learned their lesson. The Titan turned its prow toward the stars, leaving Centuntrum to burn. The air smelled of ionized metal and charred flesh. Elias Vance stepped through the rubble of the Grand Assembly Hall, his boots crunching on shattered holographic emitters. The once magnificent dome had collapsed inward, its crystalline spires now jagged teeth against the smoke-choked sky. He adjusted the radiation filter on his collar and kept walking. A Zephyrian counselor dragged herself from beneath a fallen beam, her chitin cracked, one arm missing. "Mercy," she hissed, her vocal sacs pulsing weakly. "In the name of the Federation." Vance didn't stop. There is no Federation. The surviving members of the High Council huddled near the ruins of the central podium. Silthra's iridescent scales were dull with ash, her serpentine body coiled tight around a bleeding wound. Vexor's once imposing frame was broken, two of his arms severed at the joints. His remaining hands clutched a shattered data crystal, the last record of their vote to declare war. "You were warned," Vance said. His voice carried across the silent ruin. A Vorak diplomat lunged, his fangs bared. Vance sidestepped, letting the alien stumble past. The human didn't even draw his sidearm. "Pathetic," he muttered. "You sent fleets to burn our worlds. Now you try to bite me." Vexor raised his head. "What do you want?" Vance tapped his wristcom. A hologram flared to life above them, a star map of the galaxy, dotted with crimson markers. "Every one of these," he said, "is a Federation world within range of our Hellfire platforms." He zoomed in on Centrum's system. The charred remains of its orbital defenses drifted like funeral ash. "You can't," Silthra choked. "The civilian populations were considered acceptable casualties when you glassed New Berlin." Vance snapped. The hologram shifted, showing Earth's blackened colonies. 3 billion lives gone because you thought we'd kneel." A Ceralian counselor floated forward on its anti-grav disk, its orb, like eyes dim. "We surrender." The words were a whisper. Vance didn't smile. "That word means nothing now." He tossed a datapad at Vexor's feet. "These are our terms. Unconditional surrender, disbandment of all military forces. Every species under Federation rule submits to human oversight." Vexor's mandibles twitched. "You would make slaves of us all." "No," Vance crouched, eye level with the broken Chancellor. "Slaves rebel, we're making an example." He stood tapping his earpiece. "Titan actual. Stand by for firing solution confirmation." General Cole's voice crackled through. "Targets locked. Awaiting your call, Ambassador." The surviving council members trembled. Silthra's forked tongue flickered. "You're monsters." Vance turned to leave. "We're what you made us." A young Zephyrian aide, his carapace still soft with youth, stumbled forward. "Wait, the terms. What happens if we refuse?" Vance paused at the shattered doorway. Behind him, the hologram zoomed out again, showing the crimson markers pulsing. "Then we finish what you started." Silence. Vexor reached for the datapad. His remaining hands shook as he pressed his bloodied thumb to the screen. One by one, the others followed. The aide collapsed to his knees. "All those fleets, all our warriors. How?" Vance didn't look back as he stepped into the ash-filled sunlight. "You declared war on humanity." His shadow stretched long across the ruins. "We declared war on your gods." Above them, the sky rumbled. The Titan's silhouette blotted out the sun. The monument stretched a kilometer high, its polished black surface etched with names that glowed faintly in Earth's twilight. Captain Ryan Blake stood at its base, his cybernetic fingers tracing the grooves of letters he knew by heart. The wind carried the scent of salt from the nearby ocean, mixing with the faint ozone tang of orbital defense platforms humming overhead. They never understood, did they? Blake turned to see the young Zephyrian cadet standing at attention, his chitinous plates polished to a mirror shine. The alien's mandibles twitched, a nervous habit humans had learned to read. "Understood what, cadet?" Blake asked. Though he already knew the answer, that you weren't just fighting to win. The cadet's voice modulator struggled with the emotion. You were fighting to survive. A holographic display flickered to life above the monument, showing the final moments of the war, the US and Titan unleashing its payload, the Federation's home fleet dissolving into plasma, the Grand Assembly Hall collapsing under orbital bombardment. Blake's jaw tightened. They gave us no choice. Across the plaza, a group of school children, human and alien alike, listened as a teacher explained the monuments. Meaning, a Vorak child with iridescent scales raised a tentative hand. But why did the Federation attack first? The teacher, a grizzled veteran missing an arm, chuckled. Because they thought we were weak. They saw our lack of natural weapons, our soft skin, our short lifespans. He tapped his temple. They never saw this coming. In orbit, the skeletal remains of Federation dreadnoughts still drifted, their hulls picked clean by salvage crews. The USN Defiance, now a museum ship, floated among them, her battle scars proudly displayed. Admiral Lisa Hayes' voice crackled over Blake's comm. Ceremony starts in 10. Old man, you planning to stand there all day? Blake smirked, just remembering. The cadet shifted uncomfortably. Sir, my brood. Siblings fought at Sigma Draconis. They said your minds tore through their flagship like paper. Blake met the cadet's compound eyes. And how do you feel about that? The Zephyrian hesitated. I feel grateful. Grateful that you showed mercy after. The cadet's voice dropped to a whisper. My people would have glassed your worlds. Above them, the sky darkened as the memorial drones activated. Thousands of tiny lights forming the constellations of lost colonies. New London, Tau Ceti Prime, Epsilon Eridani. A human child tugged at Blake's uniform. Mr. Captain, did we really beat everybody? Blake knelt, his augments whirring. We didn't beat them, kid, we taught them. The crowd hushed as Ambassador Vance took the podium. His silver hair caught the last rays of sunlight as he activated the monument's final display. 1 year ago today, Vance's voice carried across the plaza. The Galactic Federation learned the price of underestimating humanity. The holograms shifted, showing the charred ruins of the assembly hall. The surviving council members on their knees. The moment Vance had transmitted humanity's terms to a broken galaxy. A Ceralian journalist floated forward, her orb like eyes glowing. Ambassador, do you regret the destruction? Vance didn't blink. Do you regret starting the war? Silence, the cadet whispered to Blake. Is it true what they say? That Project Ragnarok could have collapsed the entire Orion arm? Blake's smile didn't reach his eyes. Some questions are better left unanswered. As the ceremony concluded, the crowd dispersed, humans and aliens walking side by side. A Vorak merchant haggled with a human vendor. A Zephyrian engineer collaborated with Terran scientists on a new warp drive. Hayes joined Blake at the monument's base. Think they've learned their lesson. Blake watched a group of children, human, Zephyrian, Vorak, playing together near the reflecting pool. One human boy pretended to be Captain Blake, while a tiny Zephyrian enacted Fleet Admiral Kreltok's final, panicked transmission. You don't know what you're awakening. The Zephyrian child screeched in a pitch. Perfect imitation, the human boy crossed his arms. We are humanity, and we are unleashed. Hayes chuckled. Yeah, ID say they've learned. Above them, the first stars appeared. Earth's sky now free of alien warships, free of threats, free of fear. Blake saluted the monument one last time. The names glowed brighter as night fell, a silent promise to the fallen. We remember, we endure. We are unleashed,